Hey guys, what's happening? How's my favorite branch doing?
Every reality show needs a villain, and within the faux documentary that is The Office, Ryan Howard fits that bill.
If you have something bad to say to me, Pam, say it to my face.
I don't think you're a very good person. And forgive me, but I feel like I've said this to you before. I don't like you very much.
Like all the best reality show heels,
I'm not here to make friends.
Ryan is arrogant and manipulative. He suffers from delusions of grandeur, yet he's incredibly lazy.
I could run GM, but I couldn't fix a car. It's not saying that one is better than the other.
Entitled, lacking work ethic, unable to cope with the real world, many of Ryan's character faults are the same that have been leveled against the entire generation known as millennials. If we estimate that Ryan is between 22 and 24 when The Office begins in 2005, given that he's in grad school, probably a year or two out of a 4-year university, and working an entry-level temp job, this would make him on the older end of the millennial spectrum. And The Office uses Ryan as a stand-in for the many 20-somethings who joined the job market starting in the 2000s, where they quickly earned a reputation for being both incompetent and immature.
I quit. This job is different than I thought it would be.
Stop. Does this situation look familiar? A new type of worker has entered the workforce. They're called millennials, and they're terrible.
While Ryan eventually became an evil millennial punchline,
I'm such a perfectionist that I'd kind of rather not do it at all than do a crappy version.
he wasn't always like this. Ryan started out as a bright, motivated guy with a dream for a bigger life.
I don't want to be like a guy here, you know? Like Stanley is the crossword puzzle guy, and Angela has cats. I don't want to be the something guy.
In fact, from a certain point of view, Ryan's transformation from humble young go-getter into hipster joke is less comedy than drama. An unfortunate fall from grace illustrating the pitfalls of the generation he's meant to represent. Here's our take on how The Office's Ryan Howard is the quintessential millennial tragedy.
Ryan has never made a sale. And he started a fire trying to make a cheesy pita.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified about all of our new videos. Like beatniks, hippies, punks, and slackers before them, the millennial has become one of TV's favorite targets.
Wait, I got passed over for a promotion again? What do I have to do? I've been here 8 weeks.
After all, every generation loves looking down on those darn kids who all think the world revolves around them.
Maybe part of it's the fact that you're in a hurry. You've grown up on instant orange juice. Flip a dial, instant entertainment. Dial 7 digits, instant communication.
But millennials in particular have come to be defined in popular culture by their inflated sense of entitlement.
I think that I may be the voice of my generation, or at least a voice of a generation.
Combined with the lack of any real work ethic.
Everyone wants to be rich, but nobody wants to work for it.
Came in at 10:30 today, right?
Ryan embodies all the worst stereotypes about millennials. He doesn't bother to connect with others, he's a flake.
Okay, I don't like committing to things just like that.
And he believes that he deserves exceptional success, but his self-sabotaging behavior usually gets in the way.
Hell yeah. I'll look it up.
Hi, wow, that's dangerous.
So what went wrong to make him like this?
I want guidance. I want leadership. But don't just like boss me around, you know? Like lead me. Lead me when I'm in the mood to be led.
Like many millennials, Ryan appears to be damaged by 3 key factors. 1, a hostile work environment. 2, a shallow image-obsessed culture. And 3, overindulgent parenting. Let's start with the work environment. When we first meet Ryan, he seems willing, even eager to start at the bottom.
Ryan, Howard from the temp agency. Daniqua sent me down to start today.
Far from being averse to hard work, Ryan, or the temp as his coworkers call him,
Okay, temp.
attends business school at night while working at Dunder Mifflin during the day. And although he harbors some typically grand career aspirations,
what I want is to own my own company.
That is ridiculous.
he also seems to know he has a long way to go before achieving them, even if he's already one step ahead of his boss.
Market fragments, what is that supposed to be?
It's a way of looking at consumers as subsets of a larger client base.
You're so effing smart. You should be teaching me.
But this clearly intelligent, driven, and resourceful young man gradually realizes he's entered a disappointing professional world that offers him few opportunities for meaningful advancement. This echoes the experience of graduating millennials who found themselves in a job market plagued by widespread layoffs and recession fears, and corporations run by an older generation that's resistant to change.
Dunder Mifflin can't compete with the modern chains, and management is unwilling or unable to adapt.
What Ryan needs more than anything is a leader, someone who can educate and inspire him. Unfortunately, he gets Michael Scott.
You need to play to win, but you also have to win to play.
Got it.
Along with not having any real wisdom to impart, Michael abuses their employer-employee relationship, frequently forcing Ryan to do demeaning work and treating him as a personal servant.
Here, Ryan. Oh, he needs to lift me. And he needs to clean me up a little bit. Bring a wet towel.
Worse, Michael objectifies Ryan, making frequent inappropriate comments that, in any normal workplace, would probably lead to a lawsuit.
You, my friend, would be the belle of the ball. Don't drop the soap. Don't drop the soap.
Michael, please.
Ryan's attempts to find a mentor among his other coworkers prove similarly futile.
What is the greatest danger facing Dunder Mifflin?
Outsourcing and consolidation of competition.
Wrong. Flash floods.
Baby boomers like to criticize millennials for being too self-absorbed, but this microcosm of the work environment illustrates how those same boomers have failed to realize the example they're setting, or consistently mentor young millennial workers.
You know what? We could get this done a lot quicker if we formed a type of assembly line.
This here is a run out the clock situation, just like upstairs.
This lack of guidance and support means that when Ryan tries his best but still comes up short, he doesn't have the necessary skills or resilience to cope with the setback.
I don't get it. I don't get what I did wrong.
Not everything's a lesson, Ryan. Sometimes you just fail.
For the first 3 seasons of The Office, smart, ambitious, thwarted Ryan inspires our empathy. He's a surrogate for anyone who's ever had their spirits crushed by corporate life.
If I had to, I could clean out my desk in 5 seconds, and nobody would ever know I had ever been here. And I'd forget too.
I liked you better as the temp.
Me too.
When Ryan is granted a surprise promotion to vice president, at first it feels like justice, a revenge fantasy for anyone who's felt underestimated or exploited.
We're all very excited you're going to be joining us. It'll be nice to have another MBA around here.
I'm excited too.
But it doesn't take long for Ryan to become a textbook portrait of the worst possible boss. As his newfound success goes to his head, his once measured and justified belief in himself turns into outright egomania.
People keep calling me a wonderkind. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know what it means. It means very successful for your age.
It quickly becomes clear that Ryan views his new role as something he deserves, regardless of whether he's actually earned it. And his idea of succeeding in this job has far less to do with his vision for the company than his own personal glory.
Ryan sees himself as the next, mega mogul type, and he sees this paper company as just one step towards becoming that. So he'll tear the company apart to raise revenue 1%.
Because Ryan was in such a hurry to skip a few steps on his way to the top, he hasn't had time to build empathy or respect for the colleagues he stepped over, or cultivate the people skills that are a key part of being a manager.
This company is getting younger, faster, more efficient. You need to prepare yourself.
After years of feeling disrespected or ridiculed as the temp, Ryan relishes wielding power over his former superiors.
I need to give you a formal warning about your job performance.
A formal warning?
It's actually not a joke. I know how you spend your time here, and I know how little you care about your job.
Without having any real grounding in the business he's now running, after all, he's never even made a sale, Ryan is in over his head. To cover for his many shortcomings, he resorts to chasing trends and spouting empty corporate buzzwords.
Convergence, viral marketing. We're going guerrilla. We're taking it to the streets while keeping an eye on the street. Wall Street.
And while his idea for a new company website is actually a pretty solid one, Ryan needlessly complicates his simple plan with unnecessary value adds, desperately attempting to make Dunder Mifflin into the kind of hip brand that would match his own inflated self-image. Instead of channeling any of that original creativity or intelligence we know he does possess, Ryan parrots some of the established business world's lamest efforts to reach the kids.
You're chatting with your friends. You're talking about the latest music, about the election. All of it is happening in our virtual paper store.
Ryan becomes a cliche in his personal life too.
Hey, Ryan.
Hold on one sec.
Falling prey to all the stereotypical hazards of success, engaging in increasingly obnoxious behavior.
Hey, Pam, it's great to see you.
Developing a drug problem.
Crazy! That's too much for me, man. I'm gonna hit the bathroom.
You've already been several times.
And finally, breaking the law to fake the appearance of a strong performance.
So Ryan, to give the impression of sales, recorded them twice, which is what we refer to in the business as misleading the shareholders. Another good term is fraud.
Soon enough, the evident pressures of the job, coupled with his inexperience, his lack of a support system, and his inability to conduct himself maturely, leads to an inevitable crash.
It's the tip. Look.
Oh my gosh.
The tip.
Is that the police?
Yes.
Ryan's meteoric rise and fall echo those of so many modern alpha bro CEOs who found sudden wealth and fame thanks to their innovations, only to tarnish their brands through their own entitled attitudes, their poor treatment of employees, and their cringe-inducing antics. Like them, Ryan seems incapable of humility. After his downfall, Ryan continues to chase delusions of being a Silicon Valley-style disruptor, and tellingly, he doesn't seem to have any barometer for whether his ideas are even any good.
Origami. It's the sushi of paper.
This idea hasn't gripped me.
What matters to Ryan is the appearance of achievement, the attention it brings him, and the image it creates.
Just imagine that you're at spring break Daytona Beach.
Here we go.
Okay? Everyone's like, hey dude, what's up with all the hotties in the wolf shirts? Or, hey, what's up with that helicopter? It's Rye from Wolf! The problem with having it, or the X factor, or whatever it is you want to call it, is that it's impossible to put into words what you're bringing to the table.
Although the Ryan of the first few seasons is studious and determined, after he gets fired from his prestige corporate job, something changes. Ryan seems to regress. He moves back in with his parents, he bleaches his hair, and he generally behaves like a jaded, rebellious teenager.
Last night was crazy. Jojo? Yeah. He did a donut in the parking lot in front of a cop.
But even as he stagnates in low-wage, menial jobs,
Happy birthday to Sally in lane 27.
Ryan still wants other people to believe he leads an exciting life. He lies about taking exotic trips.
I never went to Thailand.
Really?
I went to Fort Lauderdale.
Was it nice?
Yeah, it was amazing.
He clings to his past glories.
I was the youngest VP in company history.
More recently, he worked in a bowling alley.
And he behaves as though his career-ending disgrace was all just one crazy adventure.
Even though it was an amazing ride, and I'll give you an example. Anyone see Survivor season 6? Anyone know Joanna on that show? In New York City, I hooked up with a girl who looked exactly like that.
Ryan's constant hunger for other people to think he's cool or interesting is a common plight for a generation that's been raised on social media, where the Instagrammed appearance of happiness is all that matters. Anne Helen Peterson describes this addiction as a means of narrativizing our own lives, what we're telling ourselves our lives are like. And when we don't feel the satisfaction that we've been told we should receive from a good job that's fulfilling, balanced with a personal life that's equally so, the best way to convince yourself you're feeling it is to illustrate it for others.
Smokey's dead.
Smokey the bear?
Smokey Robinson. Pam, he died like an hour ago. I guess I'm the first to know.
Ryan is hopelessly dependent on this performative storytelling.
Okay, I can't not have my phone. I'm sorry. I want to be with my phone.
And even when he's not on his phone, Ryan creates this outward narrative of himself through his clothes, his pretentious affectations.
What are you drinking?
An F train to Brooklyn, extra bitters.
His professed hobbies.
I've always found beauty in uncommon places. Homeless people, graffiti.
And his attempts at being politically woke.
Hey, look, we can't fire someone because we don't like him.
Right, this isn't the US government.
What are you referencing?
Everything. Everything.
He feels it's crucial to be seen as provocative, to distance himself from his boring, normal coworkers.
Oh, their breadsticks are like crack.
I love when people say like crack who've obviously never done crack.
Ryan's image-conscious posturing makes him widely hated.
In the warehouse, we'd use code names for people we wanted to talk about. Ryan was douchebag.
Hey, that's not a code name, that's just an insult.
Plus everyone would know who you meant.
Yeah.
Moreover, it doesn't make Ryan himself happy. The gulf between the carefully filtered image Ryan presents to the world and his reality that simply can't measure up contributes to the major problem Peterson's essay associates with millennials: burnout. The Ryan of later seasons stops trying to make anything real of himself, and even seems incapable of focusing long enough to do a day's work.
So to make things simpler for D'Angelo, I just, without lying, strongly implied that I'm Kelly's supervisor.
D'Angelo, Ryan is not my boss, okay? Frankly, he hasn't had a real job here in years.
Other than with his phone, the most meaningful relationship Ryan has is with Kelly Kapoor.
We belong together, Ryan.
And their laughably toxic relationship is a worst-case scenario of the millennial romance.
I'd rather she be alone than with somebody. Is that love?
They're dating in an age where the internet provides limitless choices for partners, which enables young people to postpone commitment indefinitely.
Ryan, do you know when you would want to get married?
Actually, I don't see ever getting married.
Oh.
They're both in love with an idea of love, which largely seems informed by the drama of reality TV.
6 months ago, Karen Filippelli sent me an email, asked me out. I said no because I was committed to our relationship.
Well, I hope you're still committed because I'm pregnant.
Ryan may make grand gestures straight out of a romantic comedy,
We're running off into the sunset.
I finally mastered commitment.
but he's only interested in how Kelly fits into his narrative. It's not about how he actually feels. He doesn't even seem to know how he really feels about her.
Right here, right now, all I can think about is spending the rest of my life with her. Again, that could change.
The third cause we're given for Ryan's awfulness is his upbringing. Occasional clues about Ryan's home life imply he's been coddled.
My mom would say the best stuff, though.
You can do it, Ryan.
And you know that I'm capable of this.
You're the only one who can do it, sweetie.
And although he exudes arrogance, it's clear from how flustered Ryan gets at the first sign of criticism that he's been sheltered from it for most of his life.
What did you think of the presentation?
I thought it was great, sweetie. I would just fix that one part.
Oh, fix means you hate it. I knew it.
This fragility echoes the millennial reputation for being the generation of participation medals, the result of well-intentioned, self-esteem-focused parenting that unfortunately didn't prepare kids to deal with setbacks.
I played full-on in New York. I played at high stakes for keeps. Made it to the top, but look what it cost. Can I tell you what else I learned?
Millennials have become a familiar scapegoat, the villains of the modern office, even though most don't deserve it anywhere as much as Ryan. But the tragedy of Ryan Howard also illustrates how the workplace itself has failed a generation of employees who now, more than ever, need generous expert guidance.
We now have a responsibility to make up the shortfall and to help this amazing, idealistic, fantastic generation build their confidence, learn patience, learn the social skills, find a better balance between life and technology.
Viewed from this perspective, perhaps Ryan is less a villain than a victim of circumstance. An unsympathetic victim, but a victim nonetheless.
I'm betting on myself.
It's a bad bet.
Maybe Ryan could have found the fulfillment he was searching for if he'd only looked up from his phone and learned to find simple joy in the day-to-day, or spent more time building the kind of trusting relationships with his coworkers that would allow him to show more of his true self.
One speck of white remains in waters cold and Kelly green.
But when he describes himself as a child, lost on a light raft.
Ryan can never know.
Maybe everything would have turned out differently if Ryan had had a mentor who properly nurtured his ambition. Instead, he ended up at Dunder Mifflin. And while Ryan didn't become the success that he wanted, he did become a leader in one respect. His story can serve as a cautionary tale for other young workers, and for every office on how to handle the next generation of Ryans that will inevitably come along.
Just think that temp agency could have sent you anywhere.
I think about that all the time.
You're watching The Take. Thanks for watching, and be sure to share and subscribe.
you.